Things had been coming together rather nicely in preparation for the little festival. It had been a rather early morning for Tom, since there was quite a lot to do, but still, today was going to be a good day. The weather was nice, if a little windy, just like Raoul had promised, even if the ground was still a bit wet from the last few days. Jarrett's was somewhat against his will, being decorated by the kids, red tail paint included. At this point, Tom would need to make red paint a regular shopping priority. Fires for the spit roast that would make up the bulk of the meal were well underway, and the kitchen was busy with whatever side dishes they had been able to come up with. They had quite a few surprises in store for the day, like corn on the cob for the starters. Tom didn't consider that much of a starter, but it was sweet, and with some salt and butter, it should be quite the hit. For dessert, they're going with rather crude layer cakes, made with berries, whipped cream, and, of course, the marvel of sugar. That had been Tom's little personal project for the day. Essie and Dakota being recruited to help out since, well, they were probably the least likely to eat it all before time. Not to mention their superior skills when it came to keeping kids out of the kitchens, which would doubtlessly be very handy. The lack of a fridge to keep the cakes fresh till evening had proven problematic, but just a touch of frost powder added to a bucket of water in the big chest Tom had brought so many of his things in had done the trick. The sugar was brown sugar, and was not that uniform in texture, but it was definitely sweet, so it would do the job. Tom was just glad the two women had taken on the duty of whipping the cream. It wasn't that he was lazy. It was just hard work. And he was busy right now. It was time to get the bait bits out of the tin after they had been allowed to rest a bit. Tom, isn't it strange I've seen you concentrating less when working with explosives? Dakota questioned, with a bit of a smile. I'm used to that. I haven't baked a cake since... You don't know, do you? Essie chuckled. Well, don't be shy. It's only the first cake made with sugar anyone around who has ever tasted. Wonderful weather today, isn't it? Tom went, looking out the window. Enjoy while it lasts, it'll be raining tomorrow, Ralph added from over by the oven, as he got a few loaves of bread ready for when Tom was done. We will. Also, don't change the subject, Dakota replied, with a level of sass that was honestly rare for her. Maybe she had finally embraced the Saf and Jackie approach of just going with it. Either that, or she enjoyed the fact that he sucked at baking. Operation Smiles, hell yeah, Tom mused to himself. He didn't care that it was a stupid name. It was accurate, so it was perfect. As long as it doesn't rain on the cakes, he's going to be absolutely devastated. Essie clucked as she tapped her foot, humming some kind of tune. Yeah, that'll be what finally makes me snap. My cakes got ruined. How do you think we will feel? There'll be tears in the children's bedroom, that's for sure, Essie retorted, hair starting to bob as she apparently got to the good part, even as she was working away on the cream. You haven't told them, have you? Tom questioned, looking to the Huntress. Hell no, it's a surprise after all, Essie replied, with mirth in her voice, even if she was sounding a touch strained from whipping the cream. Looking to Dakota, she continued, Your turn. And an expensive one at that, Dakota added, though still smiling. It didn't seem forced either. God, we should try and make some hard candy too. I wonder if we can make them like little gold bars with purity rates and everything. I can already imagine the stories of when the school trip got in the bank vault and ate the national reserves. Only if it was a clutch of young dragons. Otherwise, I think it would end in tragedy, Essie added with a sigh, as she leaned against the counter. Oh, that's a mental picture right there. A school teacher trying to keep 15 tiny dragons in line, Tom chuckled, as he set about removing the cakes from the tins. I rate the teacher's life expectancy at around 12 minutes, Dakota replied with a laugh. Ready for the cream? Ready when you are. Essie, bring the berries for you? Ready to decorate. Want some sugar too? Why not? Go nuts, Tom replied, as he started up the process of assembling all the cakes and putting the finished product into the cooling box. Do they actually have dragon daycare? Tom questioned, after they got into the groove of the work. Well, sure. I remember seeing a day trip once in Bartelion. It was only 4 dragons with over 10 carers. It was quite the sight. Do they, spill acid on the floor when they sneeze? I didn't think of that, if I'm totally honest with you, Dakota replied with a thoughtful look. They had both a red, green, and a blue. How do you even prove against that? Essie questioned, as she expertly covered the side of a cake with whipped cream. Really good insurance? Tom replied with a shrug. We should get insurance on the keep, Dakota went, looking as if a light bulb should be hanging above her head. No, cake first, paperwork later, Essie went, pushing Dakota's head back down towards the work at hand. Man skal lid for man kan lid, Tom went, as he got started on the next cake. The two women just looked at him, clearly expecting an explanation. You must earn the enjoyment, work then fun, that kind of saying. He went with a shrug. Well, this is certainly hard work, Essie went with a giggle, as she plonked down the berries in a pleasing pattern, lining the edge with crushed sugar. She paused after a little, the smile fading from her face. If only Anna had been here to see this. Dakota dropped what she was doing and went over to give Essie a hug. Come now, we've been over this. It wasn't your fault. We were so close. She could have gone to see all of this. She'd never even seen a cake before, Essie went, beginning to sob into Dakota's arms. Tom gave a mortified look to Raouf, who seemed equally uncertain of just what to do, gesturing for Tom to just do something. Tom went over and joined in the now group hug, just keeping quiet for now. She's in a better place now. No need to worry about all the horrible things down here. She's free. Forever. Do you think they have music in heaven? What about cakes or movies? Essie went, as she grabbed Dakota, clutching her tight. I'm sure she's watching all the movies right now, doing whatever she wants, and waiting for us all to come join her. Where I'm from, I think heaven is supposed to be everything you have ever dreamt of. She'll be as happy as she can even imagine, Tom added, hugging Essie from behind, wrapping his arms around Dakota's back. As happy as only a child can be. Sounds nice, Essie relented, as she continued to sob for a while longer, eventually calming down. Not everyone makes it around these lands. We've been so lucky, yet so unlucky the last half year, Dakota went, patting Essie on the shoulder. I know, but look at it all. She wouldn't have believed her eyes, Essie replied, gesturing around the room. With a little luck, if there is a next time, they won't even get to lay a finger on those inside the walls, Tom added, looking at the ground in shame. Essie let go and straightened up again, sniffing a few times and wiping her eyes. You don't get to look like that. Remember what you did that day. You kicked the crap out of them, Dakota went, forcefully raising Tom's face with a single strong finger. Well, it wasn't enough, was it now? Next time it damn well will be. They will all get to live, and be happy. Then it was Tom's turn to receive a hug from the now mostly recovered Essie. Thank you. Thank you for everything you have done. For us. For the kids. Sounds like we can throw the world in there too soon, Dakota added, looking at Tom with a contented smile. Thank you, Tom replied. Finally found it. Found what? Dakota questioned, still smiling as she tilted her head. A home. A place worth fighting for. Saf was pretty pleased with herself for securing the title of Games Master for the night. It sure beats cooking, even if she was probably missing out on the few samples of sweet goodness. All she had to do was bring out what outdoor games they had, and, at her own request, set up the courses around the keep using a few odd flags. They had never been able to have a leaderboard before, but Tom's watch had a stopwatch in it. Even if the actual clock apparently wasn't quite lining up with the days around here, a stopwatch was still a stopwatch. It didn't hurt that the watch looked damn good on her arm, even if it was just borrowed for the day. Once the courses were all set up, it didn't take long for Saf to start trying them out. She needed to know it was safe, of course. She made 2 courses, one where everyone could take part and the advanced one. She'd even managed to make a crude approximation of a climb test, going up the side of the keep with chalk marks all the way up. That had been quite the rock climb. Fengi and Unkai had stuck their heads out of a window to ask what she was doing. Her explanation of how this was a time-honoured and probably somehow sacred tradition of their culture was slightly ruined by Heron claiming he had won by sticking his ass over the side of the guard tower and slapping the top marker with his tail. Oh, will you fuck off? Saf let out, much to Heron and Fengi's amusement. Unkai following the laughing as soon as Fengi got going. I am the champion of this world, Heron let out, trying to sing the odd song Tom had translated for them following his victory at cards after dinner a few days ago. You aren't even the champion of sleeping. Jackie still has you beat on that when it's time for work. Oi, I'm not lazy. It came from another window somewhere. It's hard work making guns and then hunting without them. Oh, shut it. You're the one who gets to sleep with a hot stone every night. Saf shouted back at her. Yeah, but he gets up like really fucking early, Jackie went, sticking her head out a window further down. I don't think that's why you were tired most of the time. Someone Saf didn't recognise let out. We know it's you, Essie, Fengi shouted out, looking around trying to figure out where that one had come from. Are the cakes done yet? I wonder how long she can hang onto the wall, Unkai went thoughtfully, looking to Saf, who was seriously considering if this was worth it. Longer than Jackie in bed, Saf replied, climbing up a few more stones to put down the next mark. Why am I always the target these days? Jackie protested loudly from her window. The Nokia's going to be so pissed if that doesn't wash off, Fengi went with a giggle, ignoring Jackie's pleas. It's just chalk for fuck's sake, Seth replied with a groan as she climbed higher up. And I swear if any of you wash it off, I'll ram Shiva's favourite hammer up your ass and tell her you did it yourself. Ma'am, Seth wants to steal the old brass jeweler's hammer and smear shit on it, Jackie shouted back inside the room she was peeking out of. She what? Came from Jackie's window, as Seth hurriedly made the last few marks, then dropped off the ledge, deciding it was time for a quick, leisurely flight. She's lying, Seth shouted out, as she made for open air, wondering just when it would be safe to go back indoors. If everything had gone according to plan, then the people from Highstone would be heading out early that morning, which would mean they were going to be there early afternoon, with Tigran speeding them up a little. First to arrive had been Baron along with Victoria, his crew, and the keep dwellers that had been working down below. Glira had agreed to take first watch of the vaults, then Baron would relieve her later, so they both got a chance to enjoy some of the festivities, without leaving the academics either undefended or unsupervised. Baron had taken nearly a full minute to figure out what to make of Jarek's post-decoration, the young dragon starting to look a touch uncomfortable as the warfare stared at him. It was honestly painful to watch Jarek flatten his ears, slowly lowering his head, before the old drake broke out laughing loud enough to make Sass's feet tingle. You look fit for a parade, only fitting in my opinion, the war vet finally let out when he caught his breath again. He gave Jarek an almost fatherly slap on the shoulder, which sent the young blue off balance for a second. Cries of alarm emanated from his back as some of the kids struggled to hold on. Well, at least Jarek perked back up at that, joining in the laughter after a quick check to see if he had lost anyone. And to think you didn't believe I would ever make it as a soldier. My career outnumbers yours now, I think. Put some effort into them and you might owe them your life to them, even if it will likely take a decade, or two, Baron replied, looking down at Kieran and Holdy, who were already undertaking repairs to some of the decorations. The old dragon's expression growing a touch strained. And for the record, I always believed you would. I was simply unsure you would survive the trip. Is that not correct, Colonel Shaw? That it is. Now I believe it's just a matter of waiting for the people from Deriva and Grevy. Everyone, dismissed, Victoria shouted out, looking serious for a split second before relaxing back into a leisurely pose, smiling as she looked around at Baron's crew scampering off in whichever direction they fancied. Tom had seemingly managed to escape kitchen duty for a while, to go greet their guests, Jackie trying to explain all the games that had been brought out at the same time. Saf had a quick look around, trying to see if she could spot Maiko anywhere, as the various Royal Guard members came over to mingle around the tables that he should have helped set up. Looking for anyone in particular? A familiar voice asked from next to her, as she was making her way down a row of benches and chairs that had been dragged out. This slightly short bloke, quite skinny too, have you seen him? Saf questioned, ignoring Maiko walking alongside her, pretending to also be scanning for this elusive corporal. I could have sworn I saw him just a minute ago. I heard he's supposed to be a great guy. Good looking too, apparently, at least in his mind. No, that can't be him. I'm looking for a really sly piece of work. You know, the kind that sneaks up on you in the crowd and steals your purse. I also heard he's an absolute menace in battle. Not that he can match that incredible woman he's walking with. If you can, Seth replied, laying an arm over his shoulder, pulling a smile against her will. So, what game shall the game master destroy you at first? Dueling? Micah questioned with a shrug and a smile, as Seth's ears flattened, her expression turning distinctly unimpressed. I believe that's Rachuk's department, Seth replied before livening back up, getting an excellent idea. I think it's time for you to fight a little for me then. I've always wanted to see Rachuk beaten at his own game by someone other than a Nook, and that tradition is about as old as they get. Okay, Micah replied, sounding rather less confident now. So, is he really good or just quite good? You'll see. Hooray, Micah let out, not sounding very enthusiastic as he was led over to the training field, and specifically the sparring ring. Rachuk had been in the middle of explaining the rules for the day, the point system, and how the leaderboards would work. Tom and Jackie had also made their way over. Well, Jackie had at least. Tom seemed to be mostly in tow right now. It hadn't taken too long before the boasting had begun around the railing. Quite a few of the Royal Guard wanting to go at Tom, or just wanting to see him fight. It had taken quite a bit of work by Rachuk to convince them Tom wasn't really much of a duelist. Look, I have seen 10-year-olds with more sword skill, and we aren't wasting expensive ammunition on another firearms demonstration, Saf eventually shouted out with a bit of a snicker as she poked Micah with her elbow, the corporal just shaking his head and smiling too. Tom didn't look entirely happy with that description, even if it was probably accurate. Still, it had the desired effect, as the focus quickly turned to who would hold the title of best duelist here today. Hey, Rachuk, think you can go easy on this one? Saf shouted out again, pushing a rather nervous-looking Micah into the ring. Try not to make a fool of yourself, she added in a regular tone. The corporal quickly regained his composure as he strutted up to Rachuk, shrugging, as he looked over the keep's captain. She seems to think you are pretty good. Want to test that theory? The corporal opened, locking eyes with the rather non-plush Rachuk. Rachuk looked at Saf for a second with a hint of a sigh. Fine. I guess we will have to get this party started somehow. Got a magic sword, or shall I bring a lesser weapon? One day, maybe. Shouldn't we be using dulled blades? Micah questioned, with a head tilt. Regular blade. Got it, Rachuk replied, unbuckling his very ornate-looking scabbard, and walking over to the railing, handing it to Anchor. Walking over to a box, he retrieved 2 training blades that had clearly been placed there for exactly this purpose. Someone is having fun, I see, Saf mused, looking at the usually very careful Rachuk, almost wishing Micah had called him on his bluff, as he came walking back over to her. Hold this, would you? Micah went, handing her his own blade. He's cautious and great on the defensive, and he doesn't like fighting dirty. Saf went into Micah's ear as she took the blade, giving his snout a gentle nudge. Go fuck him up. The 2 fighters walked out into the ring and circled each other, still posturing. Careful now, Rachuk. Not like you to feel overconfident, Saf mused to herself. Predictably, Micah struck first, moving forwards quickly and kicking up sand as he probed Rachuk's defences with a stab. The experienced Rachuk easily parried, trying to exploit Micah's position to no avail, as the corporal was already retreating after having made his probe. After a brief pause, they were back at it, blades flashing in a battle of footwork, as Micah tried to beat Rachuk's defences, and the captain taking a few opportunities to counterattack when Micah became too reckless. No, you idiot, that's exactly what he wants, Saf cursed to herself, as the crowd started cheering for their respective favourites. Come on, kick his ass, Saf shouted at the corporal, being drowned out by the crowd. It was almost depressing to watch as Micah kept trying to gain the upper hand and bring himself out until Rachuk finally decided enough was enough and went on the offensive himself. It didn't take more than a second or 2 before Micah was backpedaling fast, Rachuk managing to step the corporal's foot and send him over backwards. Moving in for the kill, all the captain got was a face full of sand as Micah continued the roll, flinging sand at Rachuk's face with his tail. Micah didn't bother standing back up, instead stopping on all 4s and launching himself over Rachuk's legs, knocking him clean out from under the captain, who was still trying to clear his eyes as he tumbled to the ground. He regained his composure, only just in time to block the blade being brought down against his neck. Micah seemed to believe this meant he had won, as he stood down looking at Rachuk with a cocky smile. Oh, you idiot, Saf cursed as she shook her head, knowing full well what going dirty would entail. The kick to the crotch sent Micah airborne by at least a few centimetres, as the cocky expression faded, Saf hearing Tom groan audibly clutching his own crotch. The keep dwellers cheered as Rachuk got back to his feet, even being joined by a few from the Royal Guard, notably Baron's crew. Not fair, Micah let out as he walked it off, looking a little sore. You're one to talk, Rachuk replied, switching his grip to hold the blade with one gauntleted hand. Really? Micah replied, swaying his back before flowing back into a fighting stance. He didn't get an answer as Rachuk charged, getting close enough that Saf wondered if he was going for a bite. Within a second, Micah's blade had been trapped and wrested from his grip. Got any more tricks? Rachuk shouted out, loud enough for everyone to hear. I could spit at you, Micah replied with a laugh, holding up his hands admitting defeat. No hard feelings? Rachuk just stared at the corporal, looking rather unimpressed before giving Micah a bonk on the helmet with the flat side of his sword and smiling himself. Saf did warn me you don't play by the rules, he replied, turning away and walking back over to Saf, who found herself surrounded by most of Baron's crew. Dead people don't care about cheating. No one's dying today. Next 2, Rachuk went, gesturing at the ring. I want to crack at the big guy, one of the swordsmen from Baron's crew went, vaulting over the railing and pointing at Anchor. Don't get your hopes up, Liz. He's taken, I think, Micah went, as he walked up next to Rachuk, his cocky smile turning nervous as he looked at Saf. Ha ha, great comedian you definitely ain't, Liz shot back. Doesn't help when someone has the humour of a 100-year-old librarian, the corporal replied, throwing a glance at Liz as she was apparently called. Right, I'm kicking your ass instead. Come on. Micah turned back to look at Saf, who just lifted her hands as she leaned on the railing. Fine, I'll go another round. Keep going, soldier. Might be a civilian one day, Rachuk added, as he handed the training sword off to Liz. It had taken a few rounds of fighting before Grevy had been spotted on the horizon, just as Victoria was treating him to a right beatdown, kicking the ever-loving shit out of Liz after the swordswoman got a little too big for her boots, assuming she had any. Tom needed a new metaphor for that. Too fat for her wings? Doesn't matter. Grevy was incoming, and he needed to say hi. He hadn't done much talking with the Green. It was still a damn dragon after all. Even if he was still a little scared, her breath would kill him by accident. It wouldn't do for him to lecture them about Tigran, only to be scared of Grevy himself, though. When the Green had come down, the crew had disembarked in short order, all of them standing at attention for Victoria real quick, before being let off the hook. Tom didn't have too long before he needed to be back in the kitchen. Dakota had demanded it after how much of a song and dance he had put on about the brown sauce that would be absolutely essential for making the main course something to remember. "So what are you three killing machines up to?" Tom questioned, starting to pull up a chair for the little chatting session. He quickly abandoned the seating project to catch Kieran as he half fell down from Jarex's back with a cry of, "Yay, Tom!"
"I guess just passing the time for now. Everyone needs to let off a little steam," Baron went,
looking to his crew getting started on some of the various games. They watched as Sergeant Kalinki went over to the little stall Turnia had set up with the help of her mother, where she was selling the closest they had been able to make to lemonade using some sugar and berries. Judging by the look on Kalinki's face, he was not expecting a 5-year-old businesswoman, but Turnia knew what the sweet drink cost. She was clearly not giving in to bartering either, much to Tom's amusement.
"Not a bad arrangement considering the situation."
"I don't think it's half bad, full stop."
"For a frontier keep, I would say this is very good, no?"
Grevy added, looking to Baron for confirmation, the old red nodding sagely.
"It damn better be. We worked our asses off for it," Jarex went, looking to Tom with a smile. "I can't wait to have a slice of cake."
"That's not going to be the only treat today. Just try not to cost us all the money. It is still expensive stuff."
I know, but come on. You literally dug it out of the ground,"
Grevy countered, looking rather excited.
"Yeah, which is not as easy as it sounds," Jarex went, looking a little proud. "It is hard work." "Oh, come on. Anyone can dig a hole."
"Well, you are welcome to help out moving forwards," Tom went with a chuckle. "Don't worry, it does come with a bath."
"I am a wardrake. I do battle, not gardening." "Yeah, her parents are the ones with green fingers,"
Jarex went with a cocky smile. "Oh, like they are actually farmers?" Tom questioned, intrigued.
"They own an apple orchard on the northern outskirts of the capital,"
Grevy retorted with dignity, holding her head high. "Interesting," Tom replied, thinking that one over. Opima had mentioned Greens tended to be more amiable to working with greenery, ironically enough, considering what came out of their mouths. Then again, pretty much everything that came out of a dragon's maw was bad for your health to an extreme degree.
"They toil away for meagre reward,"
Grevy continued, shaking her head and rolling her eyes, her inner teenager finally showing like it had in Jarex and Tigwan. "Ha, there it is," Tom went to himself as he just shrugged. "Well, the best soldiers tend to be those who work the most. Laying around doesn't do much for fighting prowess."
"Are you questioning my skill in battle?"
the Green questioned, straight back into the cool professionalism he had come to expect from Baron.
"Hell no,"
Tom went, with a not at all nervous chuckle, but I do think Jax has gotten stronger over the last few months. Well, that certainly seemed to make Jax sit a little bit taller, much to Tom's amusement, and to his relief. It also seemed to grab Grevy's attention.
"Jarex the Interceptor growing stronger?"
she questioned with a deadpan look, though she was clearly inspecting Jax to see if she could tell a difference.
"They do have a rope, that should be strong enough,"
Baron went with a scheming smile, looking at the two dragons measuring each other up.
"Yeah, we took 4 lengths of the rope we used for ploughing and bound it together. Wrapped the ends in leather straps. Should be good for it,"
Ralph added, excited they might get to test out his creation.
"Winner gets to try against Tigwan,"
Grevy said. Jarex taking a second to consider before nodding with a grin. "Oh, this is going to be awesome," Tom let out from his chair, considering just how long it would take before he would get shouted at for leaving the kitchen. Nah, everyone is coming over to watch anyway, Tom chuckled to himself, seeing how people were all crowding around. That included Jackie, who decided the fact he had a chair was a perfect excuse for sitting down crossways on his lap. "So, this seems interesting," she went, giving him a quick nuzzle. "It's going to be awesome," Tom replied, kissing her on the neck. Wonder how many of us it would take to be one of them. That seemed to stump Jackie for a bit, and she set to work counting on her fingers. "More than we have, Jackie. More than we have," Tom chuckled to himself, shaking his head and giving her a squeeze. "Don't break the rope," Victoria let out, leaning against Baron's side. "You want to go at it, old sport?"
"Against who? Also, you are sounding like your father. You know that, yes?"
"Oh, come on. I'm not that bad."
"Do we need to go get the harness?"
Fengi questioned, looking between the two dragons.
"Wait, no. We only have one."
"You're not afraid to pull out a tooth, are you?" Jarex questioned with a grin, baring his teeth.
"No,"
Grevy replied, picking up the rope in her mouth and taking a ready stance. Jarex was a bit less dignified, scurrying up in front of Grevy, picking up the rope and shifting his weight from side to side, looking like an excited dog. "Hey, Games Master," Tom shouted out, Saf making her way out of the crowd and digging up a line in the grass with her foot at the centre of the rope.
"First over the line loses," she shouted out, retreating a bit. "Ready? Set? Go!"